Science. Ooh, la-di-da.
We're scientists. We can conceive of anything.
You must learn to distinguish between smut and science.
Put your trust in the scientific method. Put your faith in the scientific method. I have enough faith in the scientific method.
Ooh, la-di-da.
Human beings are still fish.
Human beings are fish?
Why, yes, of course they are.
Your wisdom is stupid.
I'm an ape.
Yeah.
Are you, Bishop?
I'm not. Definitely I'm not.
Well, I'm an ape. I'm an African ape.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to be an African ape.
Yeah.
And so should you.
What is creationism? Well, creationism is defined as the belief that God is the absolute creator of all life. Creationism is all about taking the Bible into literal terms and not just as a guide to God's words. Creationists pride themselves on being the truth bearers in a present-day world of sin, but this is simply impossible because the Bible cannot negate evolution. They despise evolution, namely that all organisms, living and dead, are the end products of a natural process of development from a few forms, otherwise known as common descent. Now the favorite story of Adam and Eve is the prime example of what creationists believe, that God created man. Adam and Eve were the first men and women to roam the earth. This is according to the Bible and is believed by Jewish and Christian followers. Adam and Eve were made to populate the earth and to take care of God's creation. Adam comes from the Hebrew word Adoma, which means man, and Eve means life in Hebrew. Listen to this excerpt from the Bible. And God said, "Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Now let's take a look at Pastor Hemway's take on the whole creationism deal. This is a great opportunity to get the perspective of a man of God. Evolution is the process by which an organism becomes more sophisticated over time in response to the environment. Wait a minute. What? Alright, let's put this in layman's terms. Evolution is more easily described as how we came to walk on two legs and why many animals have gone extinct. There are three pillars to evolution. Natural selection, which allows organisms to survive and adjust to the new normal life as time goes on. Microevolution, which states the original parents of a breed possess all the potential traits expressed in their various offspring. And finally, macroevolution, which explains why we have billions of types of species today. It is the transition of one type of plant or animal to another. Darwinism is a theory created by the scientist and philosopher Charles Darwin. Darwinism focuses on the natural selection theory and has several factors that allow us to question it. His theories were triggered by a trip he made to South America where he studied and found many specimens of animals and plants. From this, he drew the theory that organisms evolved over time to adapt to the ever-changing environment. Let's take a look at Lamarckian theory to help disprove the Bible story of Adam and Eve. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, another evolution philosopher, believed not in natural selection, but in species choosing what traits and attributes to have. Lamarckian inheritance is another problem. Why should something that alters the parent of an offspring affect all offspring of all generations? While Darwinism states and is proven to be survival of the fittest, Lamarck claims that you make yourself fit. So amidst this chaos, what should we believe? The Bible states that Adam lost a rib to Eve. Therefore, all men have one less rib than women. This, however, is not the case. Males and females all have the same amount of ribs, 24 to be exact. If bones are not a sexually linked trait, like facial hair, then how can we possibly expect that only the male offspring of Adam would be missing a rib and not the females? How does the Bible account for the development of new species found every day in the world? Okay, now if everyone could please take a look at the two skeletons on the screen. The left one is male and the right one is female. Please count the ribs on the male. Now, count the ribs on the female. If you take a closer look, you will discover that both skeletons have 24 ribs. Regardless of their gender, they have the same amount of ribs. This is a clear contradiction of God's creation of Eve, since both males and females have the same amount of ribs. I would now like to open the audience up for discussion. After checking out all of this information and factual accounts, would you say that one argument is more agreeable and realistic than the other? Is it fair to make this argument against some religious beliefs? Would you say your opinion has changed of how the world came to be, or of how man came to exist?
The problem with those who are unable to see evolution, I think, is they don't have imaginations.
It's really just an argument from incredulity. Apparently, oh, so we're apes, we're fish, we don't have any free will or anything like that, or some nonsense. It's really interesting that they want to use this argument from incredulity, this lack of imagination.
So there isn't a process, as it were, going on in the cell saying, look, be patient.
No.
It's going to be a feather, believe me.
Yes. It doesn't happen like that. There's got to be a series of advantages all the way in the feather. If you can't think of one, then that's your problem, not natural selection's problem. Natural selection, well, I suppose that is a sort of matter of faith on my part, since the theory is so coherent and so powerful.
Because you're a biblically illiterate buffoon who has never listened to a single Christian sermon on the issue, talked with a single Christian theologian about the subject, read a single one of the countless words that Christians have written on this topic, and your only familiarity with the matter is what you've learned from the website of another hopelessly ignorant unbeliever who is convinced that after a 20-second glance at 4 context-free passages, he is already a greater biblical scholar than every Christian in the last 2,000 years, including the very men who wrote the Bible.